Realtors are finished. This man sells his home using just AI, ChatGPT, or the story goes. Let's take a look and see what went viral on the news here. And let's kind of analyze this. So, what do we got here? ChatGPT to sell home. Let me see if I can play this.
After 15 years in his Cooper City home, Robert Levine decided it was finally time to sell. But instead of contacting a real estate agent, he turned to the power of the prompt. ChatGPT.
I really wanted to challenge myself to use AI for the entire journey, not just piecemeal, every step along the way.
The entire journey, every step of the way. ChatGPT. All right, let's see how far he gets with
Father
this.
of three says he used artificial intelligence for everything. The planning, the pricing, the marketing, even the paint.
We repainted a couple of rooms in the house because ChatGPT said that's where you're going to get the biggest return on investment. The most important thing it did for us was build out a timeline. Here's when you need to start packing your house.
ChatGPT helped Robert design the marketing materials like his open house handout and the online listing. Then told him how to get his home listed on the MLS, the multiple listing service, scheduled his showings.
Okay, so here's where the story deviates a little bit. ChatGPT showed him how to get his house listed on the MLS. That's code word for listing with a broker. But they don't outright say that. They just say how he got it on the MLS. At first, I thought this story was going to say put it on as for sale by owner on like Zillow or, some other website. But no, they specifically say put it on the MLS, which means listing with a broker. So let's see what else they have to say.
And suggested the best day to list his home.
We ended up listing on a Tuesday.
Turned out to be terrific timing.
And I think within the first 72 hours, we had 5 offers on the home already, which was tremendous.
The Levines still held the open house scheduled for that following Saturday. But by Sunday morning, 5 days after listing their home, they had a signed contract. A contract generated by, you guessed it, ChatGPT.
Okay, so now they're saying that ChatGPT generated the contract, the purchase agreement. That doesn't seem normal. So let's see where that story ends up.
It's exceeded our expectations.
Robert did hire a lawyer to review the contract and other legal documents, but other than that, his AI assistant did all the heavy lifting. So why did he do it? One of his biggest motivations was saving money.
We estimate that leveraging these AI tools will save us about 3% of the total sales.
After 15 years in his Cooper City home,
Okay.
Robert...
So he says the motivation was money, saving 3%. So 3% is basically half the commission. That's I'm going to assume the list side commission, and I have a little evidence I'm going to show you here too. So he didn't remove all the brokers from the transaction. And he still got on the MLS. He still had an attorney review the contracts. They're saying that ChatGPT did the contracts, which I highly doubt. And I'll explain why. And then, so he basically used a search engine to work out his pricing and some of his marketing. And ChatGPT at this level, AI at this level is all that it is. It's a search engine. It's a very powerful search engine, and it pulls together a lot of good information. But it's not at the point of wisdom yet. And I think AI will get there, but right now we're not there. I do think that AI is going to disrupt real estate along with a lot of other industries. But this story is a real farce on what really happened here. So if we want to kind of dig into this was if you look on X and see some of the comments on here, this was shared by Kevin Page Lock King. He's a member of the MLS. He's a real estate broker specializing in land, new construction. And he posted this, and this was listing broker was, I think it's Baycom of Florida, LLC. And they're a discount brokerage, so you pay like a flat fee to get listed on the MLS. So he did pay a flat fee, and I don't know how much that flat fee was. Was it $200? Was it $1,000? $2,000? I don't know. But he did have to pay a broker to get it listed, and they wouldn't provide any other services. There are models like that, the flat fee brokerages that will just publish your information. Like for sale by owner shop is a popular one too. They'll just publish you on the MLS, but they won't provide any auxiliary support for a flat fee. And then he used the auxiliary support used in ChatGPT as a search engine for additional stuff. Now, if you dig further into the comments, which I don't have a screenshot for, the buyer's broker. So the buyer found this on the MLS. They had, what did they say? Like it sold in 5 days, and it sold on February 24th, 2026. Avanti Way Realty was the buyer's broker. So the buyer came in represented by their own brokerage. So traditionally how a real estate transaction is going to work is the buyer goes in, likes the house, and says, you know what? I want to buy this house. I am willing to pay X amount of dollars, and I'll close on this date. And I'm going to pay with financing, or I'm going to pay with cash. And these are the terms. I want the home inspection. I want it subject to my financing. I want, whatever other terms. This is how we're going to deal with the taxes, the proration of taxes, that kind of thing. And then the buyer's agent, the buyer's broker, fills out that contract and then submits it to the seller's broker. And then the seller's broker presents it to the seller. So in this case, I'm going to guess that it went straight to the seller's broker, and the seller's broker, all they do is publish it on the MLS. So they just probably sent him this contract. So when they say that ChatGPT did the contract, I think what they're saying is ChatGPT just reviewed the purchase agreement. And then he wasn't 100% confident. Smart man said, well, I'm going to have an attorney review what ChatGPT reviewed of this purchase agreement. Apparently everything looked good. They signed the contract and it appears to have closed. So everything's good. Did AI sell this property? Yes or no? What's your opinion? I say no. You needed, one is you had a gatekeeper on the MLS. So we can argue whether the MLS should go away or not. But right now, that's the way it's set up. So he had to pay a fee to get on the MLS. So he had to pay some broker that's willing to do that for a flat fee. And then the buyer still needed an agent to go out there, open up the houses and get in and do the showings. And then that buyer's broker then wrote the offer and submitted it to the seller. So he saved 3%. So basically he saved the list side commission, which is great, right? We're streamlining the process. We're trying to simplify it. Technology's out there. We can reduce costs for everyone. Everybody wins. And so this is a good thing, and it is disrupting the industry, but it's not to the level that they're claiming it's at yet. So this story just kind of cracked me up a little bit on how AI did everything. It's going to take a lot to break the real estate, the market, because it is so labor intensive on showings. And when the commission lawsuit settlement, I should say, came about, they were going to destroy the 6% commission. So everyone thought selling real estate was going to be free and realtors were going to work for free. No, what happened is the seller could no longer list it and say, we're offering to pay your buyer's agent 2.7 or 3%. They can't advertise that on the MLS. That's all that agreement did. So now the seller lost the ability to pre-negotiate the buyer's agent's price. So now we have buyer's agents out there that talk to the buyer before they buy, and the buyers are going to look for the best agent that can help them buy the house they want and represent them on that transaction. So now they pre-negotiate, the buyer negotiates what that agent's going to get paid up front. So now when that offer is presented, that commission is going to be paid by the seller still, but the seller is out of the negotiation process now. So what the buyer should be doing is saying, I'm going to get the bloodthirsty realtor that's going to go for the jugular, and I'm going to pay him 4% commission instead of the 2.7 and take it out of the seller's side, because the seller's lost the ability to negotiate that commission. Is that the way it's going to work? No, but I think what's going to happen is the value proposition of a seller's agent versus a buyer's agent. The buyer's agent's proposition is much more valuable in the transaction. The seller's agent, a lot of these tasks that the seller agent does, the brochures, the pricing, like he said, recommending paint colors, that AI can do a lot of that. The AI can't quite replace that buyer's agent yet. There's too much physical components to it. There's too much, on-site wisdom, the experience of knowing what's involved in the houses, what to look for, to rule things out before you actually pay for a home inspection. Why are you going to drop $500 on a home inspector when you can already identify some of the obvious and rule it out ahead of time? So that kind of experience, that kind of wisdom, you're not going to find in AI replacing agents anytime soon. So my bet, and this was my bet a year ago when that commission structure, renegotiated, that the buyer's agent value proposition is much higher than the seller side. That seller side can and will be replaced by AI much quicker than the buyer side will. So the buyer's agent is more and more valuable in the transaction, and the seller's agent is less and less valuable. This is the first example we're kind of seeing that people are able to use this. Now, could he have done this before AI? 100%. He could have used Google or whatever search engine he wanted and found that information on there. He could have used Zillow's estimate. He could have used the Realtor's estimate, Realtor.com's. Everyone's got an automatic valuation now. Is that AI? I guess technically it kind of is. But he could have used any auto valuation to come up with the pricing. He could have used any sort of blog or any information to get paint color recommendations and what to do to prep the house. Marketing materials, yeah, I mean that's pretty easy. That I think we could have done that back in the early 90s with Publisher or whatever, the Print Shop Pro, I think was the big software in the 80s. You printed it out on your dot matrix printer. I go back to the days when we would do purchase agreement in the curly Q. It was the wax paper. The fax machine would come across, and they weren't 8.5 by 11 sheets. They were just like a scroll of this wax paper, and you could barely read the purchase agreement. You'd get it, and it'd be a roll, just spiral up. You have to kind of unroll it like a scroll to read the purchase agreement. Then you'd initial the changes and you'd fax it back. And then, by the time you had a legal document, no one could read it. So yeah, that's how far technology's come since I started this business. But I thought it was an interesting story. We'll see more of this coming out. But the news is definitely overhyping the role of AI in this transaction. AI is going to have an impact in real estate. Right now, even realtors are having a tough time doing tasks with it. It's not quite at that capability yet. It can do certain specific tasks, but it's not automating any process. I do think in the next year, we're going to see that start to happen as these AI agents start to develop and things become more streamlined. And I think that the role of the seller's agent is going to be greatly diminished. And I think that commission structure is probably going to come down, and it's going to be more heavily weighted on the buyer's agent because they're bringing the real value in the transaction. The seller needs their house sold. The buyer's agent is bringing the buyer. That's the value. And the buyer's agent's providing the buyer their experience and wisdom on all the houses they've purchased and sold throughout the years in the business. And that's a value proposition that AI just can't take away at this point. Will it someday? Maybe. This stuff's growing and advancing fast, and it's going to reduce costs in every segment, every industry. I don't think there's anyone that's not going to be disrupted by this. But today, it's not there. And this story is a prime example of that. They tried to hype it like it's there, but it's just not there. All right, so that's all I got in this story. If you could do me a favor, I hate it when everyone asks for this, but like, share, comment. It helps algorithms and stuff like that, yada, yada. I'm not going to say smash that like button because that drives me crazy, but anything you can do could help me out. So I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. If you got any questions, just let me know and shoot me a message or comment, and I will do a video post on those questions. Talk to you soon.